frustrated by direction taking that constructive criticism, because we're all when I'm directing an actor, I see them as an extension of myself, and I really want to be able for us to come together to make something, as close to perfect as we can, and that constructive criticism, and not being like, I'm the actor, I'm the talent, I can, I don't need your direction kind of thing. Then you're not meant to be an actor. You know what I mean? That's the way I see it.
Have you run into that?
I have, yeah. Yeah.
Thank you for joining us on the Downing Cut. Today, my guest is Morgen Johnson, an award-winning actor, producer, and director with a remarkable 42 film appearances, 5 production credits, and 3 directional projects. Known for his work in films like Friday the 13th Vengeance and I Don't Believe in Ghosts, Morgen brings a wealth of experience both in front and behind the camera. And we met a long time ago, so I'd like to say thank you for coming on to the Downing Cut.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm excited to talk.
So I was thinking, we were slightly discussing this before. Now correct me if I'm wrong. Let me see how good my memory is. We met because we started acting as background. Is that correct?
I think so. I think maybe it was like a Microsoft commercial, or
it must have been.
I think because it was through Denise Gibbs.
Okay.
That I got, I think.
Yeah.
That, and then I remember working on, I want to say, Divine Shadows.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
You were a cop in that. Were you a cop?
I was like a hired hitman guy in that. Yeah.
So funny.
A fixer, essentially. Yeah.
Whatever happened to that? I mean, it's funny in the indie world. There's so many things that you're a part of that you wondered, and they're trying to, obviously the filmmakers are trying to get it off the ground to get going. Mm-hmm. And then it's just, you say a word like Divine Shadows. I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that.
Did you ever watch it?
No.
It's on YouTube.
Is it?
Okay. It is, yeah.
We are going to link it. We'll link it in the show notes.
Yeah.
That's good stuff to know. What now? Your wife is an actress as well.
She is, yeah. That's how we met.
And you guys met on set.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you're a success story that actually worked.
Right, yeah. No, we met on the set of Leggies. We were both extras. There was like a high
I was there.
Okay. Were you there that day?
That has to be it, yeah.
Okay.
Because I remember distinctly you guys, some kind of flirty eye thing was happening between you two. And I wasn't sure what was happening. And I was like, huh.
She gave me her Facebook. It was kind of a big deal.
Oh my gosh. Yes. And then I think it just time passed. And the next thing I know, you guys are getting married.
Well, that was in 2013, I think. 2013.
Yeah.
And then we met on Leggies, and then we did Bruce Titus commercials together. And then I cast her as my wife in I Don't Believe in Ghosts. And we really got to know each other really well. And, yeah. And then after that, I think it was maybe 2 years. We just kind of started hanging out. And then before I know it, we were married. Yeah.
Hanging out, folks, means dating, I would assume. Did you guys date?
Yeah.
You didn't go on dates?
We did. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we went to Vegas for our first date. Yeah.
For a shoot? Like a film shoot?
Well, I was going down there to film a wedding. And we couldn't align our schedules. And I was like, why don't you just come down to Vegas? And she was like, okay. And so we had our first date down in Vegas. Yeah.
That is hilarious. So this is exactly why I started this channel, is because I've known of Morgen for years but I don't know him. I don't know his story. Like, just for you to say, yeah, I was going to film a wedding. I'm like, I didn't even know that you were in that arena.
Yeah.
So, how did your journey start? What launched you into acting, film, becoming a filmmaker, writing, editing, cinematographer? How did that all start?
By accident, really. Facebook. You know Emery Christensen, um, local actor guy. Anyways, he posted on Facebook that his brother was doing some behind the scenes stuff for 21 and over, filming at the UW campus, and they needed a bunch of people for a bonfire scene. And he linked Denise Gibbs' contact information on there. I reached out. She said, "We actually are good this week for 21 and over, but we have the abduction of Eden. We need a cop for that. Would you want to do that? It's like on Saturday." I was like, "Sure, let's do it. It'll be fun." And so I did that, and I was just immersed in filmmaking, like featured extra, all this, and I was ecstatic. And I remember calling my mom on my way home, like, "Mom, I love this. This is what I want to do." And the very same week, I ended up doing 21 and over. And then I just kept doing extra stuff after extra stuff for about, I'd say, 2 years.
Yeah.
Got some commercials and stuff. And then I decided to start writing. And I wanted bigger roles to do bigger things. And started writing. I wrote I Don't Believe in Ghosts. And then we filmed that. It was kind of a co-project between me and Will Gilmore. So we did that. He was my DP for that. He acted in it as well. I haven't released it yet. That was like 10 years ago. So I tried to do too much.
We're going to talk about that.
Well, I tried to do too much. It's on my computer. So, but yeah, no, I literally just happenstance came across a Facebook post saying, "Do you want to be in a movie?" And I was like, "Yeah, I do want to be in a movie."
That is
And
hilarious.
ever since, I've just been hooked.
So, did you eventually like get into acting classes or anything like that? Did you do any workshops or anything, or just a natural?
No, what is it? I'm a natural. I need work. I need acting classes. Yeah. I took theater appreciation and like Shakespeare in college,
Okay.
just because I thought it was interesting.
Yeah.
But I've never taken any formal like Meisner
Yeah.
or anything
Right.
like that. Like I see the
That's fascinating.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, honestly, that's how I started. It was student. I was in college, and we need background people. We need extras. And I was like, I'll do it. And as I saw, it was a church scene. I've told this story so many times. A church scene. Everyone's supposed to be crying, and there's a priest, minister, pastor. I don't know what religion it was, but up at the front with the Bible in his hand. And I swear he had the script in the Bible, and as he's reading it, he was struggling, trying to I guess perform it. And once I saw that, I was like, I could do that. That was it. So then I started investigating like how to do all these classes and stuff. We do so many different things in the film industry. What is your preference? Which one do you love the most?
That's a hard question because every different aspect of filmmaking has its highs and its lows. I love acting. That was my first love with the filmmaking industry. But right now, I'm fully involved and consider myself a writer. I try to write every day.
Wow.
When I started writing, I wrote I Don't Believe in Ghosts. I was writing for what I could make. Like I was trying to include the budget into the script, and
Yes.
like minimal locations, like nothing extravagant, no CGI, you know what I mean? And I realized it really limited my capabilities as a writer. And about when COVID started is when I really started writing a lot. because everything kind of shut down. But I can write at home, you know. So I really just kind of broadened my horizons of what I can write and included elements that I'm never going to be able to afford. You know what I mean? Just to kind of see what I'm capable of and what kind of stories I could tell. And it totally changed my look on writing. And you can write about anything, and
Yeah.
whatever idea you have in your head, just because I can't make it doesn't mean that maybe someone else would want to make it. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so I'm really trying to focus on my writing right now. That's kind of my big
What
thing.
I must have missed it. What got you into writing? What was it about that you're like, oh, I should write?
I was doing the extra stuff, and I went on some auditions, and I remember seeing an interview with Kevin Smith,
Hmm.
and he had said, if you want more, something like, if you want more roles, write them for yourself. And I was like,
Yeah.
genius, let's do it. And so I wrote the I Don't Believe in Ghosts script, I think in a day. Like, I had this idea in my head for a
Wow.
while, and I sat
Yeah.
down and I spent like 14 hours straight and just wrote it all out. Of course, that was the first draft. Obviously, there was
Yeah.
revisions, but I had
Yeah.
the outline of everything I wanted, and I had dialogue, but it all got changed. There's a lot of improv in the movie. Once we started filming, we were like, that doesn't work. We're gonna have to change that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's why I started writing, is I just wanted to start making some
Okay.
stuff for myself.
Which makes sense. I did the same thing.
Yeah.
Which is, I guess, it's a common thing. I mean, there's people out there like Kit Wilson who just write. They love writing,
Mm-hmm.
and so, but as actors, I do. I mean, Rocky Balboa. There you go.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. Well, look, we got a little intro. We got a little juices. We got a little bit of what you are. Remind me your wife's name.
Adrian.
Adrian. We got to have her on the channel as well. So after this,
I asked
her
her,
up.
and she goes, I have nothing to talk about. I was like, what are you talking about?
I will ask the questions. Then you can just answer them, and that's all you need. So, Morgan, I want to ask you, your experience is huge. I mean, you've been an actor in 42 projects. From what you've seen, from what you've written, from what you've directed and produced, what makes a good actor?
The ability to listen, to take direction is huge, and not getting frustrated by direction, taking that constructive criticism, because we're all when I'm directing an actor, I see them as an extension of myself, and I really want to be able for us to come together to make something as close to perfect as we can, and that constructive criticism, and not being like, I'm the actor, I'm the talent, I can, I don't need your direction, kind of thing. Is that you're not meant to be an actor. You know what I mean? That's the way I see it.
Have you run into that?
I have, yeah. Yeah.
Holy smokes! Okay, I guess the horror stories are true. That's amazing. Okay, so taking direction, listening, being willing to accept constructive criticism and not take it personal, and just be flexible, and let's make a project.
Yeah.
Love it.
Being able to step outside the box a little bit to try something different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now you've directed and acted and produced multiple films. How do these roles influence one another, and which do you find the most creatively fulfilling?
I would kind of just submit when I was auditioning all the time to anything that I fit. Um, I always got cast as a cop. Always. Like, if you look at my resume, it's just like,
Yeah.
sheriff, detective, FEMA agent, it just goes down the list, and so I always, got typecast as the cop for everything. The last like 3 films I've been in, I've been a cop, and
Do you get tired of that?
no, it's fine. It's whatever,
Yeah.
But
How do you? Okay, I'm gonna pause you though. How
Yeah.
do you? If you were in a cop in the last 3 movies, how do you change it up and make it different?
Well, you got to look at the genre of the film. Like, is it a horror film? Is it a comedy film? And so I kind of based my demeanor off the type of the film. So the last one that I did was the Friday the 13th Vengeance Bloodlines 2. I was Deputy Forester. And in that, I was the interim sheriff. And so I'm stressed out and I have no idea what I'm doing. Okay. I'm trying to keep the town together from
As the
Jason
character.
Voorhees, you know.
Yeah.
And so I kind of had to act a little clueless and then frustrated and stubborn because I've got other people telling me what to do, but I'm the interim sheriff, and so I've got this big head of, you know, of like, I got this, don't worry about it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that was that one. And then like I did Beloved Beast and I was a cop, but in that I was brand new, like fresh recruit, and I am helping out, you know, one of the upper detectives essentially on this case. And I'm just kind of, I don't even know how I put my demeanor in it. I was just kind of there. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I had my lines, I had my, you know, I was kind of like a goofy guy, you know, probably never should have been a cop. You know what I mean? And so it's really just kind of basing it off of what the movie is, you know.
Yeah. Okay.
But back to your question, my roles, I can't remember what you said the second part of it now.
Which do you find the most creatively
Right.
fulfilling? Like really kind of like
Yeah.
yes.
So I love the horror genre.
Mm.
My writing is mostly down that lane. More on the psychological thriller aspect of it. Um, I find it intriguing because it's hard to scare people. And if you're able to capture that and truly scare people, I think that's a really big accomplishment. You know, like people laugh and giggle at a lot, you know, but like
Yeah.
it's truly hard to scare people, is the way I see it.
Yeah. How do you overcome the because there's so many horror films out there.
There are.
How do you overcome the tropes? The stuff that you're like, yeah.
Um, that's a good question. You got to make it your own. Like I don't try to base any of my writing off of anything that's already out there. I really try to create something new and original. I finished up a series about 6 months ago, writing. It's an 8 episode series.
Wow.
Um, it's called, working title. It's called The House That No One Sleeps In,
Mm.
and it's, bear with me, I'm terrible at log lines, but the, the log line for it essentially is a woman inherits a mansion and an inheritance of money from her grandparents with contingencies in down in Louisiana.
Ooh.
And the contingencies are she has to remodel the mansion with the inheritance and live in the home for 1 year. Okay. And for her to find out that her grandparents were the familiars for the vampire Saint Germain, and by her inheriting the home, her and her husband are now the familiars. And so it's them discovering that they're familiars and then becoming part of that coven and then battling those who are against the vampires and the covens throughout Louisiana,
Holy
essentially. Yeah.
smokes.
And so I finished that up and I'm in love with it.
Yeah.
I've had a few people read it and they love it. Non-film people. I wanted non-film people to read it.
Right.
And I'm gonna try and do something with that. But there's a lot of vampire stuff out there, and
Mm-hmm.
there's recently been some like the Renfield story stuff about familiars, and so I felt like because of that, people would be more familiar with what familiars are, and and it would kind of click a little better for the audience, essentially. And the whole idea came from a dream, and it just, well, like
Whoa.
the mansion and the vampires, and then obviously the whole story wasn't there, but it developed very easily.
Yeah,
Um,
that's awesome.
but like doing new, different stuff, things that I would want to watch, things that I wish had been
Yes.
produced, Um, and then the story I'm working on right now is a ghost story, but with a twist, I guess. Yeah.
We
Um,
love twists.
it's a
I
good,
think a lot of
yeah,
people.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So it's kind of got like a mental health aspect to it. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. But I'm about 3/4 of the way done with that right now, and I'm hoping to finish it up here soon.
I'm gonna ask you a dumb question because some people don't know how to approach script writing, and how much research goes into writing a script with this genre or the familiars, or understand, like when you said something about vampires and some kind of uh tribe or
They're coven.
I'm
Yeah, yeah.
the coven. I've never even heard of that, so I don't even know what that means. You know what I mean? So like,
Okay.
do you have to do research to really kind of fill in the blanks, or are you just making it up as you go?
What's great about the vampire, genre is there's a lore behind it. Okay, a lot of history, and different movies or shows that you watch, the lore changes from movie to show of what they're capable of doing. And so you can kind of have them do whatever you want, which is nice.
Okay.
There's no like set in stone, like they can't be seen in mirrors, garlic's gonna
Right.
hurt them kind of thing, It's
Yeah.
just kind of like the lore. So you just kind of go based off of that. But like I've always been well versed in vampires just because I love vampires, and
Yeah.
um, so it came easier for me to write that. But I did do a lot of research on Saint
Okay.
Germain and Louisiana, and I have so many pages of notes and just like ideas and notes. It was a lot of work. It was probably as much research and notes as it was to write the scripts.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, so that one for sure, there was a lot of research. Others, other scripts, pretty minimal on the research, I'd say.
Okay.
Because
So
they're,
then you're just open to explore and do
yeah,
your own thing
yeah,
then,
yeah, yeah.
which is kind of nice, right? To have, because I think there's certain genres where you, or lores, then you have to like stay within the boundaries,
Sure, yeah.
because some people are going to be like, is it realistic?
Hmm.
You always have
But
that
can it be
conflict.
realistic with vampires?
I don't know. I mean, are they real? I mean,
I
that
hope
was my next
so.
question. Are they real or are they not real? I don't know.
There's a lot of lore that they're real. I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
I feel like someday
So,
we'll find out.
so on the script side, are you submitting these to festivals and contests to get recognized or to get picked up, or how does that work?
I've always had the idea of wanting to,
Yeah.
and I've never done it. But I think I'm finally gonna do it with the the vampire series.
Okay.
I've Part of my hesitation has been not knowing like the good ones that aren't some scam. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
And trying to find the legit ones that will actually get it in front of the eyes of producers or some, studio execs of some sort. You know what I mean? Not
Yep.
just you won $500. You know what I mean?
Right.
Some random guy read your script and he liked it. Here's $500.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So that's kind of been my biggest hiccup.
Yeah. Because I would be, for me, I think I would kind of approach it like, don't steal my idea. That
Right,
would be a fear,
right.
right?
And so I thought about that as well, and I did some research into the WGA, the West. You can get them sent into them, and they'll get them, certified WGA and all that, and it kind of
Oh,
protects it.
nice.
Yeah, and so
Okay.
I don't think it's super expensive or anything either, and so it's just a process.
Yeah.
But that
And then
is
there's,
another concern that I've had because I have read some of their like,
yeah.
like once you submit it, then this becomes property for so long and all that, and you know,
Right.
yeah,
And then there's that, and copywriting, right?
right, right,
Copywriting your
right.
script and stuff. It's just a fascinating world. And, It's interesting that your love for writing, after acting, kind of led into doing the roles, but then you just kind of continued that journey of writing. What what lessons have you learned from the roles that you've had, and how does it inform your work as a writer, producer, and director?
I've learned a lot from my roles. Um, I can't tell you how often I will do a role and then I'll watch it and then I'll be like, why didn't I do it this other way? You know what I mean? And like, they would have been so much better if I would have done this other way.
You're
And
not alone.
right, but and it's all the time. And I wish that maybe on set, like I'll tell myself the next time on set to speak up a little bit and say, "Hey, I'd really like to do that again." Because it doesn't matter how many, films you do or how many sets you've been on, when you're on someone else's set, you feel like a guest. You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
they're in charge and I don't want to step on their toes, but it I feel like from a director's standpoint, if you need to do another take, let me know. You know what I mean? And so it's
yeah,
kind of like that double entendre of like, am I in charge? Am I a guest? Are you in charge? Like, we're all
right.
Spider-Man people pointing at each other, but it's all about making a good product, is what
Yeah.
it really comes down to. And I think that the director would understand if he felt like, oh, I could have done that a little better.
But what about if the director doesn't say anything? I mean, is it up to you? Like, here's an example. Like, it's one thing to be the director and you see the performance, you're like, hey, that works because maybe the director's like I do. I mean, I edit in my head and I'm like, this is going to hit the
Hmm.
story. These are the beats I need. But if the actor's like, hey, can I do that again? I mean, and you bring something totally different, maybe it's not what the director wanted. I don't know. How does that work?
I would let him do it again, um, just because allowing them to do it again might give them the confidence they need so that on that next scene, they're already like, I just nailed that last one. I'm going to kill this scene. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's not going to take up any much more room on the camera. You know what I mean? It's going to take another, 5, 10 minutes, and just let them know, like, yeah, let's give it one more try and then we'll move on, you know? And because
Mm-hmm.
telling them, no, that's good enough. I've heard so many times, oh, that's good enough. We'll move on. It's like, what do you mean good enough? I mean, you meant to say that's perfect.
Yeah.
Let's move on.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
What? So as an actor, though, and you reverse that,
Hmm.
have you always had? Well, have you had that opportunity to go, "Hey, I'd like to try it again,"
Yeah.
and was it met with the director going, "Oh yeah, let's do it again"?
I'd say it's 50-50.
Really?
Yeah. Because there's such a time restraint on the
Yeah.
majority of things we're doing with the indie stuff, and so, you've got, say they're renting this house for, $750 a day or something like that. Like we have the house for 3 days. We got to get this
Right.
done. You know what I mean? And
Right.
so, as an actor, I understand that as well. And so obviously from take one, I'm really trying, bust out, everything I've got. But
Yeah.
I have asked and I have been, reciprocated with, yeah, go ahead, let's do one more, um, which to me says that my first few takes sucked. And they're like, yeah, we probably need another one. but I see what you're saying, and I've definitely had the opportunity to do that, and it is helpful because when you get that feeling, whether and everybody says, "Oh, that was great," but if you get that feeling like that felt a lot better to me, you
Yeah.
do carry that energy onto your next scene,
Yeah.
and so I've definitely learned that as an actor, and that's why I would take that into my directing aspect to kind of give that to somebody else because it is a good feeling having that energy.
It does make you wonder if actors who become directors are a little bit better at it because of that experience, understanding what it's like to be on the other side and having the empathy for the actor and understanding the process that they're going through, you know?
I think 100%, 100%. And that was actually kind of one of my main reasons why I wanted to write and direct and shoot and act in and edit and do everything for I don't believe in ghost film is because I wanted
Yeah.
to experience every aspect so that when I'm on set, like I can see what the sound guy is doing, I understand, and I know that if his mic's over here and I'm talking that way, he's only going to pick up half of what I'm saying. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And our sound levels with this guy are not going to match. You know, just like little, little things, little entendres like that. And it was extremely helpful. And then I got into the editing aspect of it, and I have a lot of respect for editors. Like, probably the most respect because they make the movie. Like,
Yeah.
I see them as the most important aspect of everything. Like, you could have a stellar performance, it could be shot beautiful, but if you've got crazy jump cuts and the audio's off and you can't hear what anybody's saying, it's be a terrible movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I have
Yep.
the biggest respect for editors. That's why my movie's still on my computer because because as it turns out, it doesn't matter how many years I try, I cannot do any kind of color grading whatsoever. Like, that is,
I will send you Cousin. It was my first film, and the color grading is awful.
yeah, it's terrible.
So,
Like, I can match up the audio, I can edit the thing so that it
yeah.
flows well. Color grading,
Yeah.
it's just not going to happen. Now that we
Yeah.
got this AI stuff, maybe I might give that a try. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I'm still on the fence about the AI stuff because I feel like I'm taking someone's job away from them. You know what I mean? Because editing is such a skill. It really is. You know what I mean? And then the other aspect of it that I'm terrible with that I can't figure out is cleaning up audio. Like, when we filmed that
Yes.
movie, we didn't have the best equipment. You know, I had like a $30 mic that I bought on eBay, and it worked. You know, it was a shotgun mic, but it's got some grain to it. You know, needs to be cleaned up, and I've tried all the filters, I've tried everything, and don't want to say I've given up, but but I haven't.
It's on the back shelf.
I haven't gone back to it in a couple years. Let's just say that.
What are you editing on? What program?
Adobe Premiere Pro.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of, I don't believe in ghosts, and I mean, you have Cornhole. Looks like you wrote that. You
Yeah.
directed that.
Yeah.
You have in loving memory of Chakra Paranormal.
Mm-hmm.
Paranormal, if I can say that. You wrote that. You directed that. How do you, as a writer and director, how do you balance the demands of storytelling and filmmaking?
Oh, how do you mean?
Well, you're dealing with, what's one thing to write a story,
Sure.
you have your vision. It's the next thing to film it, to make it, to actually schedule it, to do the lighting, to do the audio.
Sure.
And have that pressure of, okay, we got to move on. We got to do these other setups. How do you balance those two?
Well, the Cornhole and the In Loving Memory of Chakra Paranormal were both 48-hour challenges. Okay. And so
even more pressure.
Right. So we knew our timeline from the minute we started. And so Cornhole was a mess. That was a mess. So we had writers, and then we had everybody else. They stayed up all night writing, and then they were going to go to bed, and we were going to film it. The next morning, they came downstairs, and they gave us a page of jokes that they wanted in the film. No story, no outline, just jokes. Okay. And so I spent like 20 minutes writing out an outline, and I was like, we have to start filming, otherwise we're not going to make the deadline. And so we just went by the outline of what we're going to do, and I kind of told people what I'd like them to say, and we made a movie. And it got lots of laughs, and you know, it turned out really good. Yeah. And good. So it was kind of on the fly, kind of writing by the seat of my pants as we go kind of thing, and be like, so we filmed it in chronological order because of that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
so as things were happening, we're like, all right, let's move over here, and then we, you know what I mean? Like it was a run and gun um, kind of thing, and then for I don't believe in ghosts. The scheduling was a major conflict.
Mm.
It was hard because I wasn't paying anybody,
Yeah.
and I luckily have very few cast members, and it mainly takes place in one location, and some of the other actors were part of the crew, and so I'd be like, give me the sample. I need David. I need you in there.
Yeah.
You're now a coroner,
Yeah.
and so scheduling was a lot of weekends, and we basically would just try and film every single weekend. And then the hardest person to get on set was actually Adrian, because it's not her fault. She had a 12-year-old son, and so she'd have to
Mm.
find childcare, and
Yeah.
and we did a lot of overnight shoots, and so overnight childcare, and so she was a
Ooh.
troop. She was an absolute trooper about it.
Yeah.
Never once complained. We had one day we were filming. In the middle of it, she got a phone call. It was an emergency about her son,
Mm.
and she had to leave, and all of our scenes had to do with her, her and I kind of thing. And so
Yeah.
we had to figure out, well, we already got everybody here. And so we filmed a lot of like B-roll, like exterior shots, and just kind of, you know, we made it work. But like
Hmm.
those are things, there's unexpected, things that are going to happen. You got to, you know, be ready for them essentially. But
Yeah.
that was the hardest part, is the scheduling for sure. But like, as far as like scheduling like locations and stuff like that, that was actually pretty easy. Um, Again, Adrian knew everybody, and so like she was able to get us a doctor's office, two different doctor's offices to film in, because
Nice.
she had worked for them. We filmed on the Ferris wheel in Seattle, because Adrian knew the owner, I guess, or knows the
Wow.
owner. I don't know,
Yeah.
but like all sorts of just random things that when you watch it is like, wow, they must have a pretty good budget. They have like all these locations and stuff, and it's like
Yeah.
we did the whole thing for like $5,000, you know. But there's the pre-production process of it. Basically, what I'm trying to say is it's difficult, and scheduling is hard. Probably the hardest aspect of it, besides budget.
Hmm.
Budget is definitely the number one thing that you're looking at when you're scheduling things. When you're thinking of props and locations and how many people you need there, and because if you're not paying them, you got to feed them, so that's still going to cost you money. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And
Yep.
so that was definitely the hardest aspects of it for me. But yeah,
What about your shot list? Like I've spoken to different directors who they have shots, they have setups they want to do, but because of time and the location, they start cutting their shot list, which is kind of in a way cutting their story, just making their story a little bit shorter too.
I've never cut my shot list.
Okay.
I will shoot everything that I want, and I will cut it if it doesn't work in the story when it's time to edit. Um,
Nice.
my shot list, I do it based off location. I'm sure the majority of people do, but like
Hmm.
I just look at the location. I'm like, all right, everything here is at the parents' house, so today we're shooting 100% at the parents' house. I didn't like moving locations in a day, so like let's just get done at
That
the
makes it.
parents' house, and
Yeah.
then rather than having to pack everything up and go to this other location, we'll do that another day. You know what I mean? We're not on any
Hmm.
time restraint. This has to be done by a certain day or whatever. And so that made it a little bit easier, I think, for everybody, because it's just difficult for the crew essentially to pack everything up, move to a whole location, and then set everything up again. It's a lot easier to move from room to room. You know what I mean?
What? I mean, that's good advice. How many days did you take to film I Don't Believe in Ghosts?
Oh man, I'd guess at least 30. Yeah, yeah, 'cause
30 days. It's a
yeah,
feature.
It's a feature, yeah. Yeah.
Holy smokes!
Yeah.
Was
We
that
did.
your first film?
Yeah. Yeah.
You just went after it. You're
we
like,
I
I'm
did.
there.
I did. I was like, this is what we're doing.
That's amazing. Well, kudos to you because I've from all the people I've known and spoken to myself. There's people out there just do nothing but shorts and have done like 50 shorts and haven't conquered that feature. And there's some people that are now getting into the feature. And then for me, I've made what, 2 shorts, maybe 3, if you want to call it that.
Mm-hmm.
And my idea was, okay, the next one's going to be a feature. But I mean, that was the first thing you went here. Like,
we're just going to do it. Well, and it gave me a lot of good experience. And through a mutual friend, I met Phil. He's got a last name. I'll remember it eventually. But he helped us on Ghosts and was DP for a pickup scene. We filmed a scene at the Grand Theater on the exterior and then inside in the seats. And so I needed a DP. He stepped in, helped us out for the night. And afterwards, he asked if I would help out with the pre-production and production of his film, Dusk to Dusk.
Oh, yeah.
And so I was able to bring everything that I had learned from I Don't Believe in Ghosts to that. And we made a pretty stellar indie film with Cameron Price. I don't know if you've seen it or not.
I've heard of it.
I think it's on YouTube as well.
Okay.
But we did, which was really fun. I'd never done before. We did auditions. And I loved that. I thought that was the funnest thing in the world. And I really tried to make it fun for the actors coming in as well. I know how intimidating, it is to go stand in front of a casting director. And I really just tried to emphasize to them, like, we're wanting you to be in this movie. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of actors forget that when they step in the room, that you're there because they want you. If they didn't want you, they would have never invited you,
Right.
And so doing the audition process and then looking at locations with him. And then I ended up doing DP for 90% of the film. DP and lighting and sound, kind of did it all.
What did you shoot? What did you shoot with?
I had a Nikon D5200.
Nice.
And then I had Rokinon cine lenses for it with a I did the 30, 35, 50, 85, and a 16.
Nice.
Yeah.
I only have one lens.
Yeah.
So did you let me see. Did you DP on I Don't Believe in Ghosts too?
A little bit for like some of Will's scenes, and then like some exterior shots, nighttime shots, and then there's some scenes underneath a house.
Yeah.
We dug a hole underneath my house. We had to bury a body.
The neighbors are like, what's going on over there?
You know what's hilarious though is we have this fake set of bones. I actually still have it somewhere, and it was a little girl's body. Okay, it's a dark story, but we buried it underneath the house, and then we had to film our scenes, and then I got busy doing other stuff, and I forgot it was down there. Okay, so there's in a little baby bones, like a 12-year-old size skeleton, in this like blue and white plaid dress with like little kids' shoes on and like a little necklace, and buried down there. And I was selling my house, and so they had to come do an inspection.
Oh my
God. And the guy goes, I don't think it's real. I just want to mention that there's a body underneath your house. I was like, oh no, I totally forgot about that.
That is hilarious.
Yeah.
Wow.
But doing the Dusk to what I was saying, sorry, I got sidetracked. Doing the Dusk was fun because it wasn't my film, but I could still bring what I'd learned to it. And I'm actually pretty proud of what we were able to come up with on that film, because I did have a lot of say in what we were filming, and like, because we had to work with schedules, and then he kind of I felt like an assistant director on it, and that was a lot of fun for me, because you don't have all the pressure, you just got a little bit of the pressure, and they just kind of, they're like, wonder what to do here. I'm like, I got an idea, and then if it doesn't go right, it's on them, because they made the
Yeah.
final decision.
So you edited Cornhole,
I did.
correct?
I did.
And you edited In Loving Memory of Chakra Paranormal.
Yes.
Okay, I can't even say that word. Chakra Paranormal.
Yes.
Paranormal.
So
How do you find, when you have your script, you have your layout of what you want, the shot list and everything, how do you put it all together to make it flow? And how do you stay true to the story? Because just like you said, in editing, that is the story.
that is the story. With Cornhole, I did the editing, and then Jonathan Holbrook did the color grading and the sound, like, design and leveling and all that. But we didn't have a script to go off of, and so it was kind of easy. We could just kind of make it whatever we needed it to be, to be
Yeah.
within that 5 minutes and get it turned in on time.
Yeah.
With In Living Memory of Chakra Paranormal, the story was actually by Adrian. She had the idea for the story, and then I wrote it, and then we filmed 100% of the script. And then when we went to edit it, I'm pretty sure we used 100% of the footage in the film. Because it's a found footage film,
Okay.
and so I think there's only a couple cuts throughout the whole film, like maybe four or five, and that was fun because it made editing pretty simple. But we had to get tricky with the editing, though, because there's like a scene where I'm spinning around, and we actually cut it when I went past the wall, and then we started filming again on the wall, and so it looks like it's one cut. It looks like I'm just swinging past the wall real quick.
Nice. Yeah.
And I actually learned that from Silas Dahl. We did a 48 film, Thin Blue Line. I was a cop. I know, it's crazy. And the film did really well. We got best ensemble. I got best actor, and after that, he after that he blew up, and then he made They Reach, and like it was that movie, I feel like, was his stepping stone into something bigger, and now he's killing it. He's doing all sorts of stuff now, and so.
Is he still in Washington?
I think
or is
so.
he in LA?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, but yeah, both of those movies, that was pretty easy as far as sticking to the story and the editing.
Yeah.
I Don't Believe in Ghosts was a lot more difficult. I used probably 70% of the footage, I would say, for that, and I edited the whole movie, and then my Adobe crashed and erased the entire thing. Okay. And so I re-edited the whole movie, and I made a completely different movie. Like, the story's all same, but like the angles that I chose and everything, like, I'm actually glad that it crashed and I lost it, because I think what I made the second time was 100 times better. But
interesting.
And so that I actually took that, and when I did editing for, it was a while ago, I don't remember the name of it. It's not on my IMDb or anything.
I know, it's like
but I edited a film for somebody. I don't think it ever came out. But I edited the whole thing. It was like a 30-minute film, and then I went back and I edited the whole thing again, and just not doing any coloring, just cutting and, adjusting and doing, your sound matching and all that. And I did it again, and I gave them the second one because that was the one that was better. And I feel like doing that, you're getting the mistakes out of the way. Yeah, it's going to take some more
Yeah.
time, but I think like your product is going to be better. It's not any different than writing. Are you going to
Right.
write one draft and then turn it in? There's
Right.
going to be revision after revision after revision. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so having the idea that your first go around is the best go around, I think is a bad way to do it.
That's interesting because I mean you're right. I mean there's that's why people do screenings. They do
Mm-hmm.
screenings. So what is the audience like? Oh, we got to change this. We got to change that. So it's like a draft. They have the first draft. They come back, do some reshoots, or they re-edit,
Mm-hmm.
change it. The pacing. Have you ever had any feedback from the stuff that you edited based on how the pacing is or how the story travels on any kind of constructive criticism? And if you have, how do you manage that?
I have. When we screened I Don't Believe in Ghosts to the cast and crew.
Wait a minute. I thought you said this movie wasn't done.
It's done, but the color's off and the sound needs to be leveled.
Okay.
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 But like it's done. Like it just needs those fine tunings for it to be, perfect. And then we can, throw it on YouTube or Vimeo or something, and I'd be happy for people to watch it. And then I've watched it since many times. And I like watching it just to see where I was and where I'm at now, kind of thing, because it just shows that evolutionary process of change and, progress and learning and all that. But I just kind of hang on to it at this point just because it's kind of nostalgic of, Adrian and I, we did this, and so, but, I got sidetracked again. I don't know who had asked me.
Okay, now that I know you had a screening.
Oh, that's right.
And that the movie's done.
So,
did you get feedback?
I got feedback, and the pacing was terrible. Okay, it was too long. There was too much. There were scenes that didn't work. The way that it was edited was confusing at times. And I think it was like an hour and 40 minutes long, I think, to start. And I've edited it down to like 82 minutes, I think. I've gotten a good like 20 minutes off of it of just fat that didn't need to be in the film. And so not only does the story go quicker and you get to those key points faster, the way that things will happen, and then it's like an ebb and flow of the story. Like something big happens, then it calms down, but before you have a chance to calm down all the way, something big happens again. You know what I mean? It brings you right back into that, that feeling of what's going to happen next, or like, where's this story evolving to, but before it was like long drawn out, like going to the doctor's office, am I going crazy? Just, and it took you out of that. It's a horror film, so really cutting it down, making it shorter gave us that you feel like you're in the horror film the whole time. You know what I mean? And so the screening was huge for me. Like I would always have a screening. Like the next film I make, I'm having a screening. I want to hear what people have to say. It doesn't matter what I think, what I've done. Like I'm not just making it for myself. Do you know what I mean? And so their feedback is huge. I am a big fan of constructive criticism. I will take all the criticism you got, and I will learn from it, and I will use it.
That's awesome. What did you have to cut in your babies? Like shots that you're like, oh, but this is such a good shot, and I can't cut it.
I don't think so. I think we left the majority of the scenes in. It's just we filmed a lot of each scene, and being a first-time editor, I'm just throwing all the footage in there. Like we have this footage, let's use it. And so we didn't cut any scenes. If anything, we had to do a reshoot, and we essentially added a scene
Oh,
to
okay.
the very beginning of the movie, just because it started weird. It was our first
Huh.
day. Our first day of filming, we filmed the first shot. Okay, and then going back and editing and watching, I'm like, that was terrible. I was like, it doesn't work at all. Let's just reshoot it. And so, and then at the screening, people felt the same way. You know, it just felt awkward and just weird. And I associate that to us being new filmmakers, and it was our first day filming. But
Yeah. That's
um,
awesome, though.
yeah, we
That's
didn't.
how you learn.
Yeah, we didn't lose anything important to the story or anything like that.
How has all the technical skills that you've picked up from writing, also acting, how does that shape your approach to directing?
Um, so writing and directing have a really good relationship. I feel like being a writer and a director at the same time can definitely have its benefits. As a director, once you're on set, being able to visualize what you wrote and being able to be like, okay, on paper that works, but this is not going to work. You know what I mean? And being
Mm-hmm.
able to change it is huge, rather than if you're a director and you're directing someone else's writing and you have this inkling that this isn't going to work, but you're really trying to stick with the script. You know what I mean? And so you kind of, well, fudge it a little bit to make it work, but it truly probably just doesn't work. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so I truly think that there's a special bond between writers and directors, and they have to work together. And so, like, if the director sees this isn't really going to work with what we've got, got to be able to contact that writer and be like, hey, you know we got to change this. Can you come up with something, and then give him the scenario of how to make this work, and say, hey, can you come back with me with that, and we'll get that done. You know what I mean? But as far as acting and directing, oh boy, I mean, it's more on the lines of the appreciation for what the director goes through, and vice versa, director and actor. It's not so much technical aspects of what they have to do, but it's that knowing of what they're going through and how hard it is that they're doing, that brings that cohesiveness, almost like a family, to the set. You know what I mean? I think
Mm-hmm.
that's the most important part of
How do you direct yourself?
it. That's a good question. So, that was hard. I kind of had Will Gilmore. He was kind of like my co-director when I was on camera,
Mm-hmm.
and we would shoot, and then I'd be like, I want to see that back, and so we'd go, we'd watch it, and then okay, back into places, we shoot it again, and then there were times we did it that way, and then there were other times where we were in a rush because we had a location for a couple hours or whatever. I would just be like, I trust your judgment. If we need to do something, don't be afraid to tell me. Like, let's just get this done, And
Yeah.
so it's a mixed bag of doubting yourself and trusting the people you're working with.
Yeah. I know the feeling.
Yeah.
So, looking back at your experience in film, what would you say has been the most defining moment or project of your career so far? Why?
Defining moment. I mean, if my wife was here right now, I'd tell her it was Leggies, because that's where we met, and that's
Oh,
that's where
well,
the
that's
spark
nice.
kindled.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But as far as for my relationship, it was Leggies, 100%. I met Keira Knightley and my wife on the same day, right? I mean,
What year was that?
I think it was 2013. Yeah,
I'm looking for it on IMDb.
I don't think it's on mine. Yeah,
Why?
I don't know. I have no idea.
It's a special moment, but it's not on my
I have
IMDb.
no idea. No. But as far as the film that I'm most proud of, I guess, and that really made a mark on me, would be Beloved Beast, I think. It's such a monster of a film. I mean, it's a true like fantasy horror epic. It's it's long. It could be shorter. I'm not gonna lie. It doesn't need to be that long. There's a few scenes that run on a little long, but I feel like the
Yeah.
rest of it works. And I had such a big role in it, and for Jonathan to have trusted me with that role and everything that was a moment for me where I was like, I can do, leading type stuff. I had never really done much, feature leading type stuff, and so
Yeah.
it felt really good to have someone else trust me, and then to see it, go to the premiere and see how much people enjoyed it, and um, that was a pivotal moment for me. And so like doing that, and then the next one would be the Friday the 13th Vengeance Bloodlines 2. um, I felt like I was put in high regards and respected every day that I was there on set, and it felt good. You know, the the camaraderie on that set was above and beyond anything that I'd ever witnessed before. Like it was a true family of filmmakers, and people would step out of their comfort zone to help out in whatever way was necessary. And that was a pivotal moment for me as well, even though it was very recent, because it kind of showed me what filmmaking could be. It doesn't
Mm-hmm.
have to be this strict, you know, yelling and screaming. There was no yelling and screaming. There was laughing. There was people having fun. And I don't know if you've seen the film. We made a hell of a product. Like I think it turned
Yeah.
out great. Like it looks like something you would see in the theaters. Like Cody Newton's a genius. His DP skills are through the roof, and that was huge for me. I loved that. That was probably my best experience on a movie set was Vengeance Bloodlines 2 for sure.
What do you think on a move on a set? What are the what would you say is the key thing to create that atmosphere?
Oh man. I think the director has a big play in that because they're in charge, and when people like were arriving, if he was doing something, he'd come over and say hi to him. You know what I mean? And he
Mm-hmm.
made sure
Mm-hmm.
that every single person there felt welcome. And that was huge. I don't know if you've met or worked with Jason Brooks.
I
Um,
haven't.
he is a very talented human being. I see very big things for him in the future, but like he knows how to direct. He understands it. He sees it as it's his passion. Do you know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
he loves every single person there. He works with his friends, and if his friends are like, "Hey, this guy's pretty good. We should maybe bring him in and see how he does," he'll be like, "Yeah, let's bring him in." And the day he meets that man or woman, he's gonna be like, "Hey, I'm Jason. Nice to meet you. Let's see what we can create." He's
Yeah.
a true creative. Like in that film, like not only was he directing, but he's building sets. He's building the visual effects. It's all practical visual effects except for I think like one or two scenes, like small little snippets. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
like he's editing the film. Like he's I think Cody did the majority of editing, but um, he wanted to have his hands on it as well. Because it's kind of his baby. But like
Sure.
I kind of appreciate him on that aspect of it as well because of my experience on I Don't Believe in Ghosts, of wanting my hands on every aspect of the film, and
Mm-hmm.
so not only was he directing, but he was doing everything else. And everybody knew that, and he didn't like boast about it or get upset and be like, I haven't slept in a week, I can't do
Yeah.
all this on my own. He took that weight because he wanted that weight, and he took care of business, and he did it well, and he did it efficiently. And watching him work like that was a huge moment for me. Like, we can be busy, we can be stressed out, but we can still be a family, and we can work together, we can mesh, and we can come out with an amazing product. And that was huge. I think that's what every actor wants. You know what I mean? When they
Yeah.
go to set,
Yeah.
and I finally felt that, and I got that, and that just makes me want it more.
Sounds like he led with no ego. I
He,
mean, that's,
yeah, 100%. Yep.
I think that ego tends to really kind of break things down in
Mm-hmm.
the whole workflow and process, and that unity that we're trying to build.
Absolutely.
Morgan, we're going to dock the ship in. What is next for you? Anything you're working on in the near future? Anything you're looking forward to? Are you going to put out the Ghost movie?
Do you know any buddy good with color grading or sound design? You help me out a little bit.
Didn't you just say Holbrook? Holbrook is it?
I had asked him, and he
Yeah,
sent me some like
Dear
instructions.
John.
No, like, he sent me like instructions on, like, oh, this is how you do it, and I took those
Yeah.
instructions. I think I made it worse, And so I don't know. I need somebody in person. I'm a very visual learner,
Yeah.
and so if somebody came and showed me and said, hey, this is how you do it. You click here, you do that, and I maybe write some of my own notes down as we're doing it. I could totally pick it up and understand it, but I haven't had that opportunity.
What is your favorite tech when it comes to the film industry?
I have a lot of appreciation for sound equipment. I feel like sound equipment is essential in filmmaking. Without good sound, people can't hear what you're saying. You can't have a story,
Yes.
And we bought Adrian a few years ago a Sennheiser shotgun mic, and it's the
Very nice.
I got it right here. I don't even
That's
know.
the cream of the crop right there.
It's the MKH41B P48. I don't know. Something
Is that what
like
you're
that.
using right now?
No, I'm using the web. She didn't want to set all that up. No, I asked her. I was like, "Can you set all that up?" And I have no idea how to do it. And I came in, and she's like, "The audio's through the webcam, and here's some headphones." And I was like, "Oh, we're not doing the." She's like, "Nope." I was like, "Okay."
That is hilarious. Okay.
But if you could hear it, the sound on that
Yes.
thing,
Oh yeah.
like,
Oh yeah.
you could, if she's in here recording at nighttime, she's got this nice booth and everything,
Yeah.
but it picks up, like, there's a manufacturing plant like 5 miles away down the hill. She knows when the machine's on. Like, she can tell you. Like, the neighbor's coughing in her sleep. She's like, "Oh, I ruined my take," Like, I'm not joking. This thing is insane. But so sound equipment is huge for me.
Yeah.
I love it. The capabilities of it are insane to me. I wish I knew how it worked, because it's truly a marvel in engineering. My favorite piece of equipment that I use and love would be my Blackmagic camera. It's the first gen Blackmagic camera, and I love it for the reason that the image that it produces, it's got that little bit of grain to it. It feels like a film. Do you know what I mean? With the
Yeah. Yeah.
with the new 4K, 6K, 8K stuff, like, when you get into that high resolution, it kind of pulls me out of the film. Like, when it's that softer aspect, it feels cozy. Like, I'm watching a movie. I'm part of this. But, like,
Mm-hmm.
if I'm watching a movie and I'm like, oh my gosh, the graphics are so great, I'm not in that movie. Does that make sense?
Right.
I'm not in the story at that point. I've been
Yeah.
pulled out because the graphics were too good. And so, like, I know I'm in a movie and I'm watching the movie and I'm not paying attention to what's going on when I can not think about the filmmaking side of the movie. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like if I'm watching a movie and I'm like, oh, I wonder why they did that, or I wonder why I did that. I'm not really watching the movie. I'm watching the filmmaking. You know what I mean?
That's how I watch all my
Right,
movies.
right. That's what I'm saying. Or it's like,
Yes.
oh, they dubbed that line. That's for sure. Or, but like something about
Yeah.
that black magic feel that it gives me that feel. It makes me warm and cozy inside. Is the best way to describe it. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. It's the closest thing you get to film on a digital platform. It
Right.
sounds
That's
like,
how
right?
I feel. Yeah. And
Yeah.
then I pair it with my Rokinon lenses, and the picture is just beautiful, and I just love it. And like I've considered buying the 4K, but I don't think I want it.
Yeah.
I'll use this one until it doesn't work anymore. I think like
Exactly.
it's such a great camera. It's so easy to use, user friendly, and I just wish the files weren't so big. You know. And the 4K ones are just going to be bigger.
Right.
Right, so.
Well, I mean, that's a true testament. I mean, really, for like the audience that would probably watch this are going to be people who want to get into the industry. And the bottom line is, it's not the camera doesn't make the filmmaker.
No.
The filmmaker
No.
makes the film. Period. Matt, regardless of what you're using. So, what are your thoughts on AI?
I'm not a fan. Like, I do feel like in the right sense, it can be very helpful for all of us, But AI in film is scary. Honestly, like some of the videos, like where AI was and where it is now in a couple years is leaps and bounds. Like, where's it going to be at 2 years from now?
Right. Right.
And like, people are making like short films with AI, you know, and these people, they look like people, like that to me is taking jobs off the table, and then with the editing capabilities and everything, like pretty soon, if we let AI do its thing, I don't see why we would need filmmakers anymore, honestly. Like, it's the capabilities of AI right now are very scary. Yeah, I'm not a fan.
What about from script writing, from a script writer's perspective?
I feel the same way. Like, so many people are using AI for like their homework and stuff, and it's
Right.
it's pulling from the internet and taking this information and creating an original piece of work that can't be traced back into any kind of plagiarism or anything, and
Mm-hmm.
why can't they do that with movie scripts? There's millions of movie scripts all over the internet that AI could pull from and create its own unique movie,
Well,
and
that's what I'm wondering. Like 48 hour film festival.
yeah.
I don't know if there's any rules in regards to AI, but someone can say, here, write a script with this line using this prop and this location,
Mm-hmm.
and make it 5 minutes short.
Right. 100%. And I wouldn't doubt it if somebody's done that at this point.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
if they don't get a full script, they would get a solid outline out of it at least.
Yep.
And there should be a rule, I think, on the 48-hour film festival that AI is not allowed. I haven't looked at the rules lately. There very well could be a rule. I don't know,
Yeah.
but I definitely think it should be a rule. I think it would be beneficial to everybody. I don't think it would be fair. Um, I understand though using the tools available to you, but that doesn't feel like a tool to me because you're not doing anything. You're just
Right.
putting in a prompt. You know,
Yeah. You're bypassing your
right,
creativity of actually coming up with something.
right.
Yeah. All right. Morgan, I appreciate your time on coming on the Downing Cut. How can people reach you? I know you moved. You're not in Washington anymore, right?
I am in Washington.
What?
Yeah, I'm right
I thought
here.
you moved out of Washington.
We are trying to move down to Arizona.
Okay.
Yes. So, it got postponed. Personal stuff. Just trying to do it at the right time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We don't want to
Yeah.
rush ourselves.
Yeah.
But we're still here. We're still here right
Okay.
now. Yeah. You can reach me. And my email is probably the best. If you're on LinkedIn that's the only two things I have. I do have an Instagram, but I don't use it.
Okay.
I have a Twitter. I don't use it as much anymore. Like 2 years ago, I just cut off social media.
Yeah.
I guess a year and a half ago, and I've got a lot of writing done since I cut out social media. I'll tell you that much. Yeah,
that's a good indicator right
it's
there.
just
Yeah.
it's a distraction.
Yeah.
Like nothing on there is something that I need. It's not important. I was just trying to focus more on, me, my well-being, and my future kind of thing. And so,
Yeah.
why do I care so much about what everybody else is doing? I need to focus on me. Is the way I saw it.
That's right.
Yeah.
That is the key.
Yep. And so, email is a good contact, and through LinkedIn.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Morgan. Thanks for coming on the Downing Cut.
Thank you. Thank you. I had a blast. Yeah, I'll do it again.